Is World of Warcraft Shadowlands for casual players? Well, in this video I want to give you my answer to that question. Every now and then I hop back into World of Warcraft and see what those Alliance and Horde boys and girls are up to. Usually, things are worse than I left them. Since I got other MMOs like Guild Wars 2 on my mind, I only play World of Warcraft casually. So let's see if this expansion is for me. It's me, Kyo, and let's dig into the video. First, let's have a look at the story. The story in an MMO is usually not grindy and focused on the casual audience of the game. In Shadowlands, this is no different. But there are some positive and minor negative aspects to the story. If you have a level 50 character, you can hop straight into the story. You will be sent to assist Bolvar 4 Dragon, the new Lich King, near the portal that Sylvanas created by destroying the Helm of the Lich King. You could see all of this happening in the Shadowlands trailer. This portal allows us mortals to enter the Shadowlands, basically the heaven and hell equivalent for World of Warcraft. The rest of the story is for you to find out. When you enter the Shadowlands, you will immediately see that they are divided into several sections. We have Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweld, Revendreth and the Maw. Each of these areas offer enough variety in terms of the environment and the side quests to keep you busy. But let's not stray too far from the original question. Is the Shadowlands expansion for casual players? As I've said, the areas offer enough variety for every kind of player. You can easily play through the whole story in a day if you are a hardcore player. For a casual player, I'd give it about 3 to 5 days of 2 or 3 hour sessions. So I think you should be done with the story in about 6 to 10 hours. After you are done with the main story, you can start the story for a covenant of your choosing. These covenants are all linked to one particular area of the Shadowlands. This does not mean that you will only be doing quests in that particular area, but the covenant you choose is where your home base will be. I think this is a really nice feature that allows you to represent and learn more about the covenant you like the most. The story of a covenant can feel a bit grindy, but for me personally, I did not find this troublesome. For some specific chapters, I had to get some extra reputation in order to continue. Usually, I got most of the reputation I needed from doing side quests or doing the main story. I could easily get the remainder of the reputation by doing a few world quests or side quests. Also, since I played this straight on release day, I could not progress the entire Covenant story in one go. I had to wait a week before the next chapter would be unlocked. Although I do not mind waiting a week to catch up and explore areas, I do not like the system in combination with World of Warcraft's business model. In order to complete the story, I would have to purchase extra game time to play through my whole Covenant story. I'm dedicated enough to do so, but it's a bit of a sketchy tactic if I've already paid 40 euros for an expansion, an additional 12 for the game time, and now I have to pay another 12 euros of game time to finish the actual Covenant story. I do not agree with that, and I consider this non-casual friendly. However, the longer you wait, the more chapters are released, so by the time you are probably watching this, you can play the whole story in one go. But keep in mind that this tactic is also used whenever a new patch comes out. If you are just playing for the story, it's best to wait as long as possible before you start playing the Shadowlands expansion. Wait until all quests and stories are playable in the game and then start playing. Although that might be hard, it's the most financially beneficial and casual friendly option. If you want to play through the story on an alt character, that's also possible. Warcraft offers you the option to replay the story on an alt character or rush straight into world quests. I personally really appreciate the option to choose here. If you really want to relive the story for a second time, you can. But most players just want to gear up another character and do not want to play the story another time. But is the expansion overall alt-friendly? Honestly, I think Shadowlands is very alt-friendly. As a casual World of Warcraft player, I'm not really into joining the gear treadmill and getting those extremely hard achievements. I mean, I like those things, but I simply do not have the time for them. So, whenever I'm done with my main, which is currently a Night Elf Demon Hunter, I enjoy leveling my alts in Shadowlands. As I've just mentioned, in Shadowlands you can skip the main story if you already completed it once. This allows your alts to complete world quests right away and allow them to quickly improve their item level so you can take them into raiding. In that regard, it's very alt friendly. Also, just before Shadowlands, Blizzard introduced the Level Squish. Instead of your maximum level being 120, it has been squished down to level 60. This was introduced to simplify the leveling and to reduce the large item level numbers of a piece of equipment. Although your level might change, your power does not. This Level Squish also came with the option to level wherever you want. Over the more than 15 years that World of Warcraft exists, an enormous number of areas were added to the game. If you had to play through all of these for every character you create, that would be a bit boring. Luckily, Warcraft now lets you choose what areas you want to level in. So when you reach level 10, you can walk up to Chromie in Stormwind or Orgrimmar and choose what areas of what expansion you would like to play through. If you only want to level in Northrend or Outland, you can do so. This allows you to complete the storylines at your own pace and not skip past them to get to the maximum level as fast as possible. If we can attribute this Level Squish feature to the Shadowlands expansion, then I'd say that the expansion is extremely old friendly. But you do not need the actual expansion to use this feature. But what about the endgame? That's the thing where players are most interested in. Well, that's comparable to other expansions like Battle for Azeroth. Luckily, it's a bit easier due to the removal of Titan Forging and the Heart of Azeroth. It's not too hard to get into endgame content like raids, but it just takes a long time. This is where I suspect that most casual players won't get to at this stage of the expansion. To enter most of the raids, your character needs to reach a specific item level. Every weapon or piece of equipment you get from quests, drops, or from the auction house has an item level attached to it. This item level is usually associated with better stats for a specific piece of equipment. So the higher item level you have, the more damage you do and meet the requirements of a raid. For example, Castle Nathria, a raid in the new Shadowlands expansion, has an item level requirement of 170. In order to play that raid, I need to make sure that my item level is an average of 170. The hard part, or well, the time intensive part, is getting the average item level of 170. Usually you get better gear with higher item level score from world quests, heroic dungeons or story quests. However, the story ends at one point, so you need to start doing heroic dungeons or world quests. World quests usually show you the reward beforehand, but it is usually slightly better than the item already have. So it's just tiny baby steps to get to that better item level. This while my other piece of equipment is still a relatively low item level and drags the average item level down. Upgrading and looking for a better piece of equipment can take time, or you can buy them from the auction house. This is usually a pricey option, but it could increase your item level rather quickly. Doing heroic raids is in my opinion the most fun method to increase your item level. So after spending 30 minutes on a dungeon, it is possible that you'll leave with just a bit of extra gold. You could also spend that extra gold you just earned on a better piece of equipment on the auction house, of course, but I'd rather earn the equipment myself. To conclude this segment, I think that there is still a barrier for casual players to get into endgame content. On the other hand, it's good to have dedicated players into raiding. It should not be given to everyone without putting any effort into it. Although I do think that it should be easier for casual players to earn higher item level gear much quicker. Usually a catch-up mechanic gets implemented a few months after an expansion, but you are always 1 or 2 steps behind on every raid wing. So waiting a few months could save you some time if you want to raid, but don't mind waiting for a few catch-up quests or mechanics. For now, I'd say the endgame is not really accessible for casual players. Now, to conclude the video, I'm overall very happy with the Shadowlands expansion. I do enjoy it a lot more than Battle for Azeroth. The different areas are very engaging and the story is also very appealing. Most of the content is accessible for casual players, however the raiding and endgame content are locked behind a gear treadmill. Warcraft does this all the time. It might not be a bad thing, but it's definitely not something casual players can do right away. The first raid in the LFR has a minimum item level of 170, and as we speak, I do not have that item level just yet, and I'm currently grinding my way to it for a few weeks now. I do not think this will change soon, but I expect to have a catch-up mechanic for it in the next couple of months. Overall, I'm really happy with the Shadowlands expansion and I do think it's casual friendly. Do you agree with my insights and my opinions about the Shadowlands expansion? Let me know in the comments. If you want to support me, consider subscribing, liking and sharing this video. It helps a lot more than you think. For now, I'd like to thank you all for watching and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!